night let us drift together into a gentle corner of the cosmos, a quiet place where curiosity softens into calm and where even the strangest mysteries feel as light as breath. Welcome back to Fall Asleep to Science. I'm glad you're here. Settle in, loosen your shoulders, and allow the night to unfold around you. This evening we're following a traveler from another star, an object that moved through our solar system so quietly, yet left scientists around the world in a kind of hushed wonder. Its name is 3I Atlas, a visitor that seemed to break one rule after another, as if the universe were whispering something new to us, something soft, something patient, something we had never seen before. The story of 3I Atlas does not begin loudly. It begins in silence, the kind of silence that exists between planets, the kind that carries ancient dust and forgotten memories. Somewhere beyond the warmth of our sun, somewhere in the long dark between neighboring stars, this small traveler drifted for ages. No one knows where it was born, or what shaped it, or why it found its way here. But sometimes the cosmos sends us things without explanation, like folded letters delivered by gravity, letters we must learn to read slowly. When China's Mars probe Tianwen-1 quietly turned its camera toward the deep void, it was expected to take routine measurements. Instead, it captured something different, something small and glowing, softly wrapped in a faint breath of light. It was the first time we had ever seen 3I Atlas up close, the first time a human-made machine had traced its shape against the ink-black sea behind it. Even from far away, the traveler felt calm, almost serene, as if it were moving with an inner certainty, untouched by hurry. Scientists sometimes describe the universe with firm words and strong theories, yet when they saw this visitor, their voices softened. No one rushed to conclusions. Instead, they watched, like people watching a snowflake land, curious how something so quiet could feel so unusual. As you breathe slowly, you might imagine this distant traveler gliding past Mars, unbothered by anything around it, guided only by ancient momentum, a grain of memory from another world, a fragment of time that drifted for millions of years before our telescopes were even imagined. There is something soothing about the thought that an object can wander for so long, untouched, unchanged, simply moving forward, because that is what motion does in space. 3I Atlas reminds us that the universe is patient and that not everything needs to be understood right away. The astronomers studying it began to notice gentle oddities, small details that didn't match what they expected. They found that the traveler didn't behave like the comets we know. Its glow seemed smoother, its surface seemed different, its path seemed unusually calm, almost deliberate. Nothing about it was frightening or chaotic. Instead, the oddities felt like small notes in a lullaby, tiny variations that made the melody richer, not stranger. Some scientists believe that interstellar travelers may carry the chemistry of forgotten star systems, echoes of suns that died long before ours was born. They say that each visitor is like a driftwood branch floating from a distant shore, carrying the scent of a place we may never see. 3I Atlas might be one of those pieces of driftwood, shaped by a world with different winds and different tides arriving here by chance or by some long chain of gentle pushes. You can imagine it now. A small, dark shape gliding through warmth on one side and darkness on the other, years passing like moments. Nothing rushed it, nothing guided it. Yet it arrived exactly when our instruments were able to notice it, almost as though the cosmos enjoys timing things in subtle ways, whispering to us only when we are ready to listen. Take a slow breath and let the universe gently flow around you. As Tianwen-1 continued watching, The tiny traveler drifted past Mars with a kind of quiet poise. From so far away, it looked like a glowing seed. A seed carried across light years, perhaps by nothing more than chance. But in its stillness, there was something comforting, a reminder that even things born in violent cosmic storms can move with incredible grace. Scientists observing it from Earth felt a mix of calm and curiosity. They were trained to look for strict patterns, yet this object seemed to invite wonder instead. It behaved just differently enough to make people pause, but not differently enough to feel alarming. It was as if the universe had tilted its head slightly, giving us an amused smile and asked, "Are you paying attention?" And so we paid attention. We listened. We breathed with it. We traced its path, not with fear, but with fascination. The closer 3-eye atlas moved toward the sun, the brighter its mystery became. It didn't scream or flare the way normal comets do. It didn't leave a loud, dramatic tale behind it. It simply glowed, quietly, like a lantern carried carefully across a dark field. It is thought that the materials within it may have been shaped in a place far older and harsher than our own solar neighborhood. Perhaps its home star burned hotter. Perhaps its planets formed from heavier metals. No one knows. But the object seemed to speak of endurance, of a strength polished by time. As you imagine this, allow your breath to slow just a little more. Imagine drifting with it, quiet, unhurried, held softly by gravity's invisible hand. The scientists continued to gather data, and with each new observation, their fascination grew. This wasn't a loud kind of discovery. It was a gentle one, a discovery that encourages patience, reflection, and curiosity, almost like watching a candle that refuses to flicker, glowing calmly through a silent night. And tonight we follow that same calm glow, letting it guide us into deeper softness, deeper quiet, deeper rest. As 3-eye atlas drifted deeper into the inner solar system, a strange kind of calm followed behind it, as though the space around the traveler softened, smoothing its path like quiet waves guiding a wandering boat. Astronomers often expect interstellar objects to behave in restless ways, tumbling, shedding, or flickering unpredictably. But this one moved with a quiet steadiness, as if it had practiced this journey many times before. When Tianwen-1 sent back its next set of images, something gentle and surprising appeared. The glow around 3-eye atlas seemed smoother than before, as if the sunlight brushed it with an even velvety hand. Comets usually carry chaotic halos, dust clouds that spread unevenly like messy watercolor strokes around a drifting stone. But this traveler looked different. Its light was soft and round, almost peaceful, like a small moon wrapped in a warm breath. Some scientists described the glow as serene. Others said it looked unbothered, as if nothing in the sun's fierce heat could disturb it. It is believed that the surface of the object might have unusual textures, perhaps very fine grains or metallic layers, each scattering light in a gentle, uniform way. And while the true reason remains unknown, the effect was mesmerizing. A tiny star-like sigh drifting past the orbit of Mars. As you breathe in slowly, imagine this distant traveler floating through warmth and shadow, glowing with a calm that needs no explanation. Back on Earth, observatories in Chile, Hawaii, and Europe followed the object as best they could. Each telescope captured the same quiet shape. Each instrument recorded the same smooth halo. Across different continents at different hours of the night, the data all agreed. Something about 3-eye atlas felt unusually gentle. This harmony between instruments gave astronomers a sense of peace. Not everything mysterious must be frightening. Sometimes mystery feels like a lullaby for the mind, a space where questions drift softly without demanding answers. As the object moved closer to the sun, scientists expected its calm glow to fracture into bright jets and streaming tails. Heat usually awakens a comet's deeper layers, releasing gas, dust, and vapor. It is a lively process, sometimes violent, always messy, and yet each new image of 3I Atlas showed the same soft sphere, unchanged, unbroken, floating, as though wrapped in an invisible cushion. It is thought that perhaps this object was made from sturdier material than typical comets, something denser and more resilient. If so, its glow may come from a thin breath of ions or dust, escaping gently from its surface. The sun may have warmed it, just enough to allow a faint whisper of light, and no more. Take a slow breath, let your shoulders fall, and imagine that whisper drifting softly through space. As days passed, astronomers began to notice that the visitor followed a strangely perfect path. Not perfect in a mechanical way, but perfect in the way a feather falls effortlessly, gracefully guided by currents we barely notice. It traveled through the same tilted plane where Earth, Mars, and the other planets circle the Sunday. No wild jumps, no dramatic angles, just a quiet glide along the gentle sheet of our solar system's motion. Scientists were surprised by this because interstellar objects normally approach from random directions. They arrive from above or below from angles that slice through our planetary plane like stray sparks. But 3I Atlas drifted within the thin slice of space that our planets share, almost as if it wanted to pass through the familiar rhythm of our solar family. Some astronomers thought this might be a coincidence. Others believed that perhaps the galaxy has quiet pathways we do not yet understand, smooth gravitational lanes that guide travelers more gently than we expect. It is believed that these invisible corridors could shape the journey of many interstellar objects, though we've only seen a few so far. Whatever the reason, the result felt soothing. A tiny visitor from another sun, moving in harmony with our own. You might imagine it now, a dark seed drifting along an invisible line, gliding quietly like a leaf traveling where the current takes it. At one point, scientists noticed a soft shift in its brightness. Not a flare, not a flicker, just a subtle deepening in tone. Some described it as a sigh, the way twilight slowly deepens into evening. Others said it looked like the faint shimmer that rises from warm ground just after sunset. It is thought that sunlight may have awakened tiny layers on its surface, releasing new colors, new textures, new breaths of light. But the change was gentle, barely noticeable, almost meditative. The more astronomers watched, the more they began to see the object not as a threat or an anomaly, but as a small messenger of possibility, a reminder that the universe is full of quiet beauty, that even across millions of years of wandering, something can still arrive with grace. Now and then, between their calculations, scientists paused. They stared at the faint shape on their screens and let the silence of deep space sink into them. There was something soothing about studying an object so ancient, so calm, so unknowable. It made the night feel wider. It made their breath slow down. It made the stars outside seem just a little closer. Take another soft breath and imagine that feeling, the gentle widening of the night sky. As 3I Atlas approached its closest point to the sun, astronomers prepared themselves. They expected chaos, blazing streams of dust, loud flares of gas, the dramatic unfolding of heat and light. But the universe had other plans. Something different, something quieter, was waiting, and we will follow that moment and all the mysteries that unfolded afterward as our journey continues. As 3I Atlas swept nearer to the sun, the world of astronomy held its breath. In the quiet rooms of observatories, screens glowed softly, charts shifted, and faint signals arrived across long threads of data. But instead of the chaos, everyone expected something gentler began to unfold. The traveler drew closer. Yes, but it did not flare or rage or break apart. It simply moved with a strange and effortless calm. Scientists watched for the usual signs of heating, the bright jets that burst from a comet's surface, the sharp lines in the spectrum that show ice turning to vapor. But the expected noise simply never came. It was as if the traveler refused to raise its voice. Even when sunlight should have shaken it awake, it remained composed, wrapped in a faint breath of light, as if whispering rather than shouting. Some believe that this quietness might come from its unusual composition. Perhaps it held less of the fragile ices that usually feed a comet's dramatic displays, and more of the firm metallic grains that do not melt so easily. Others think that its age, older than our solar system, older than the planets, may have changed it in ways we can only guess. Time in interstellar space is slow and immense. It wears objects differently, smoothing them, refining them, shaping them into something new. Take a slow breath and imagine that long, quiet shaping, as if millions of years passed like soft tides across a sleeping stone. As sunlight wrapped around the object, astronomers expected to see a tail forming. Every comet we know grows one, a glowing brushstroke stretching behind it as dust and vapor drift away. But 3I Atlas glided forward without leaving that familiar signature. There was no streaming line, no drifting plume, just a soft sphere glowing faintly, moving forward unburdened. This gentle refusal puzzled scientists. But instead of frustration, many felt a quiet awe wash over them. Space is vast and full of unexpected stories. Sometimes it teaches us things not with force but with subtle contradictions, little reminders that our understanding is not yet complete. Observations from orbiting spacecraft showed a curious detail. When the object passed a certain point, the sunlight around it shimmered differently, as though something within its surface responded in a delicate, controlled way, not erupting, not releasing a storm of matter, just adjusting, like the faint shift of a sleeping breath. It is believed that internal layers warmed by the sun for the first time in ages may have released small amounts of energy, not enough to form a tail, but enough to create a faint halo that seemed to pulse softly around the traveler. Scientists describe the glow as stable, smooth, and unusually calm. And so the mystery deepened gently, like twilight settling slowly into dusk. As the traveler moved past the sun and began curving through space, astronomers expected turbulence. They looked for signs of rotation fragments or sudden changes in direction, but none of those appeared. Instead, 3I Atlas moved like a small lantern, guided by invisible hands, taking a path that almost seemed rehearsed. Some scientists began to wonder if interstellar objects follow quiet rules we have not discovered yet. Rules shaped by the galaxy itself, by tides and currents that run deeper than gravity alone. Perhaps there are gentle highways through space, thin pathways of calm, where travelers drift more easily carried by soft cosmic winds. It is a comforting thought, the idea of hidden currents guiding lonely wanderers. You might imagine them as glowing threads across the dark, soft, quiet rivers of motion stretching between the stars. Take another slow breath and let that image float through you. When astronomers traced the path of 3I Atlas, they noticed something even more surprising. As it moved through the inner solar system, it passed near Mars, then slipped through a region where the spacecraft around Venus could observe it, and later drifted near the outer watch of Jupiter's probes. Each moment of visibility seemed perfectly timed, almost gently aligned. Of course, no one claimed intention. The universe does not need intention to create harmony. Sometimes its rhythms simply align as though gravity and chance wove a soft pattern around an object without notice. But this alignment created a sense of wonder in those who studied it. It felt like watching a dancer move through beams of light, stepping into brightness just long enough to be seen, then sliding quietly into shadow again. And then, as it approached the point of greatest brightness, the cosmos added one more layer to the story. In that moment, as the traveler should have been most visible from Earth, the sun slid directly between us and the object. From our planet, it vanished into daylight, hidden, completely wrapped in solar glare. This disappearance lasted for weeks. Earth was blind to it. But from the vantage points of orbiting probes around nearby planets, the visitor remained visible, drifting quietly, glowing, gently unbothered by our sudden silence. Some astronomers describe this moment as poetic, a reminder that the universe sometimes reveals things only through particular windows, and sometimes takes them away, as if encouraging patience. Take a deep, gentle breath, and imagine that soft vanishing, the glow slipping behind the sun, like a lantern hidden behind a curtain of gold. During this time, many scientists paused to reflect on how much of the cosmos remains unseen. So much of the universe moves quietly around us unnoticed, simply because we are looking from the wrong angle. 3I Atlas became a symbol of that humility, a reminder that what we see is only a small part of what exists. And yet, when it reappeared from behind the sun, it returned, just as calm as before, still whole, still steady, still glowing, with the soft patience of something shaped by a very long journey. As the traveler continued on its path, astronomers prepared for the next set of discoveries, gentle surprises, quiet mysteries, and the soft unfolding of details no one expected. And our journey follows with it, step by quiet step, breath by gentle breath, deeper into the calm mystery of its passage. As 3I Atlas drifted outward from the sun, something unusual began to reveal itself in the quiet shimmer of its light. It wasn't explosive or dramatic. It wasn't a sudden flare or a burst of dust. Instead, it was a soft, steady glow, as though the traveler carried a gentle pulse beneath its surface, something slow and patient, like the rhythm of a distant tide. Astronomers studying the faint light noticed that it behaved differently from the warm colors we usually see in comets. Instead of a dusty gold glow, or the pale silver shimmer of evaporating ice, the traveler seemed to whisper in cooler tones. It was as if the universe had tilted its head slightly, giving us an amused smile, and asked, "Are you paying attention?" And so we paid attention. We listened. We breathed with it. We traced its path, not with fear, but with fascination. The closer 3I Atlas moved toward the sun, the brighter its mystery became. It didn't scream or flare the way normal comets do. It didn't leave a loud, dramatic tail behind it. Even through scientific instruments, the colors felt soothing, as if the object breathed in the sun's warmth and released it back in a soft, steady exhale. Take a slow breath now, and let that steady exhale settle lightly inside you. As the glow deepened, astronomers around the world compared their data. They expected to see some trace of a tail, forming a natural result of a comet losing mass. Instead, each telescope returned the same answer. No dust, no long trails, no spreading plume. Nothing drifted away. It was as if the traveler passed through heat without shedding any part of itself, quiet and whole. This puzzled those who study comets, but the puzzlement was gentle, not frantic. It felt more like standing at the shore watching a wave behave differently from what you've seen before. Unusual, yes, but also strangely peaceful. Some astronomers began to reflect on how much variation exists in the universe, how many different ways a single object can form, evolve, and survive. Perhaps 3I Atlas came from a star system where comets grew stronger, denser, shaped by forces we do not yet understand. Perhaps the silence in its wake was not odd at all, but simply different, a reminder that our experience is small compared to the variety the cosmos holds. And as they studied the object's motion, another gentle surprise emerged. Even though it released almost nothing visible, the traveler seemed to receive a small, steady push, a soft acceleration that nudged it ever so slightly off the path, predicted by gravity alone. This was not violent, not abrupt. It was subtle, like a quiet hand guiding a drifting leaf. The object continued forward calm and composed its path, shifting only in the most delicate way. Some suggested that the invisible push might come from extremely fine gas escaping from its surface, too subtle to reflect light, yet strong enough to influence motion. Others thought the effect might be caused by something within the object itself, perhaps an internal change awakened by the sun's warmth after millions of years in the cold between stars. Whatever the reason, the change felt like a breath, the traveler adjusting its posture as it continued along its journey. And you too may adjust your posture now, settling a little deeper, breathing a little slower, letting the quiet of this story drift through you. As the object glided farther away from the sun, scientists examined another detail: the way it reflected the light around it. Comets usually scatter sunlight in a rough, uneven pattern, shaped by their dusty surfaces. But the light from 3I Atlas seemed aligned in an unusual way, bending gently against expectations. It was as if the surface held patterns too small to see, or textures shaped by time in a star system far away. Some researchers described the reflection as delicate, almost like light passing through frosted glass. Others saw hints of structure, not artificial structure, but the natural layering that can occur in places with different temperatures, different starlight, different cosmic dust. When they plotted the light's behavior, the curves looked soft and strangely elegant. No sharp angles, no sudden jumps, just smooth, continuous transitions, like ripples settling across calm water. The calmness of the data soothed many minds. In a field often marked by noise and complexity, this visitor presented something rare, a mystery wrapped in tranquility. Take another slow breath and imagine those smooth ripples spreading across a still pond beneath starlight. Later, scientists compared the traveler's path to a similar corridor in the sky, a region known for an unexplained signal captured long ago. They noticed that 3I Atlas passed not through the exact spot but close to it, close enough to spark gentle curiosity. It wasn't enough to draw conclusions, but it was enough to encourage reflection that sometimes unrelated mysteries brush near each other across long stretches of time, like two drifting seeds carried by wind from different directions crossing paths by chance. This idea comforted many observers. It reminded them that the universe is wide and full of coincidences, some small, some beautiful, some impossible to explain, yet all connected by the quiet laws that guide motion through the stars. As weeks passed, 3I Atlas continued its path, no longer hidden by the sun, no longer invisible. It appeared softly in the telescopes again, as though emerging from behind a curtain of light. Its glow remained calm, its shape remained whole, and the halo around it shimmered gently, unchanged by its long, warm encounter with our star. Some scientists described its return as peaceful, like a traveler stepping quietly out of a bright doorway into the cool shade beyond. It looked untouched, unshaken, still carrying the serenity it held before. You can imagine it now, a small dark seed, illuminated by soft light, moving slowly into the quiet reaches beyond Earth's orbit. The astronomers who followed it felt a sense of gratitude, not because they understood it, but because they were allowed to witness it. They knew the traveler would continue forward, carried along its quiet, ancient path long after it left our view. Their time with it was brief, but beautiful. And our journey too continues, with that same quiet beauty, moving gently, patiently, deeper into the soft mystery of this interstellar wanderer. As 3I Atlas drifted farther from the sun, scientists expected its glow to fade quickly. Comets usually dim as they move into cooler regions, their energy softening, their breath returning to silence. But this traveler dimmed more slowly, as if holding on to the warmth a little longer, carrying it gently the way a stone holds sunlight after dusk. Its halo remained remarkably, even a soft sphere of faint light, untroubled by turbulence or trailing dust. Many astronomers described it as balanced, almost serene, as though the object carried an inner harmony shaped by its long journey. Even as it crossed into colder space again, its appearance stayed smooth, like a lantern drifting through a calm night. Some scientists believe that interstellar objects may have surfaces altered by ages of cosmic weather, thin layers fused by micrometeor, impacts, radiation, and unimaginable time. Such surfaces might glow in subtle, unusual ways, holding light a bit longer, releasing it a bit more gently. This idea helped explain the faint persistence of the traveler's radiance, and yet there was something more, something that felt like quiet endurance. Take a slow breath and imagine a lantern that refuses to completely darken, even as the night deepens around it. As data came in from different observatories, one detail stood out softly. The object's motion remained steady, but each gentle acceleration seemed to follow a pattern too subtle to declare, yet too consistent to ignore. The slight shifts in its path felt like whispers, nudges so light they could easily be missed, yet always present like a faint rhythm beneath a melody. Some astronomers believed that tiny amounts of gas were escaping from the object, too fine to scatter sunlight but enough to influence motion. Others considered the possibility that heat from the sun had awakened deeper layers within it, releasing energy slowly, like embers glowing beneath ash. But whatever the cause, the effect was calming. There was no sudden motion, no erratic tumbling, just a gentle push, as though the universe itself was guiding the visitor onward. Scientists who spent long nights watching the data felt a strange quiet settle in them. The object did not rush through space. It drifted. It surrendered to motion the way a leaf surrenders to a river, letting currents carry it without resistance. You might imagine that same drifting now, a soft surrender, a peaceful continuation. At one point, a group of astronomers examined the spectral signature of the traveler, the quiet colors hidden in its reflected light. They found hints of rare materials, patterns that suggested a surface both strong and ancient, but the details were soft, delicate, as though the object's story could only be understood partially, never fully. Some described the spectrum as minimalistic, a simple song of light. Others said it looked like memory, a faint echo of where the object might have formed, somewhere far beyond our sun's influence. It is believed that different stars create different kinds of worlds. A star hotter than ours might forge comets with denser materials. A younger star might imprint different chemical signatures. A dying star might leave behind fragments that shine with unusual tones. 3I Atlas may have carried one of these distant signatures, a small message from another Sunday. Whether that message was intentional or purely natural didn't matter. Its beauty lay in its existence, not its origin. Take a slow breath and imagine a soft echo of another world traveling quietly through space. As the object moved farther away, its path crossed a region that allowed several planetary probes to see it again. From the cold orbit around Mars, faint signals continued to arrive. From the warm skies of Venus, hidden instruments caught distant glimpses. Even from farther out, in the quiet realm near Jupiter, cameras observed its slow retreat. Each viewpoint saw something slightly different. From Mars, its halo appeared a little sharper. From Venus, slightly bluer. From Jupiter, almost ghostly. The differences were subtle, like viewing a candle through different kinds of glass. But despite those shifts, One quality remained unchanged: its calm. Some astronomers found themselves lingering over the images longer than necessary. There was something therapeutic in the faint sphere of light, something that quieted the mind, something that made the night's work feel softer, less hurried. In many observatories, the late-night watchers, those solitary scientists who sit with the stars while the rest of the world sleeps, found comfort in the gentle presence of this distant traveler. It felt like company, a reminder that even in the deep silence of the universe, things move with purpose, with patience, with grace. As days turned to weeks, the traveler continued its slow departure. The sun's warmth faded from its surface. Its light softened, and the halo around it grew more delicate. But it did not vanish quickly. It faded like twilight, slowly, gently, respectfully, giving scientists time to take their last observations, to record their last measurements. And during these quiet moments, many began to reflect on the nature of interstellar objects. They are rare. They are fleeting. They are visitors who pass by only once in a human lifetime, then disappear forever into the dark. But in their brief visit, they bring reminders of distance, of age, of mystery, of the soft, endless patience of the cosmos. Take another slow breath and let those reminders settle gently in you. As 3I Atlas continued outward, passing into colder regions, scientists realized they would soon lose sight of it. Its glow would grow too faint, its distance too great, its path too far from the warmth that allowed us to see it at all. But before it faded, something unexpected happened. A final soft shift in its brightness. Not a flare, not a pulse, but a delicate rise in cool colors. A last shimmer, a quiet goodbye. It reminded many watchers of the way a candle flickers softly before going out. Not dramatically, but with a tender surrender to darkness. And so the traveler drifted, still glowing softly, still whole, still silent, moving forward into the long night between the stars. Our story continues with it, following its gentle retreat, its quiet message, and the soft lessons it carried across the void. As 3I Atlas drifted beyond the familiar warmth of the inner solar system, the darkness around it deepened, not into coldness, but into a quiet that felt almost comforting. The sunlight no longer wrapped closely around its surface, yet the traveler still carried a faint, steady glow, as if it held a memory of warmth deep within its ancient layers. Astronomers watching it from Earth began to see it soften. Its halo thinned gently like mist, slowly settling into night air. The colors in its light grew more subtle, more delicate, fading into cool shades that felt peaceful rather than distant. Comets usually lose brightness sharply, their tails collapsing as soon as heat begins to fade. But this visitor dimmed slowly, gracefully, as though reluctant to leave the light entirely. Some scientists suggested that its surface may have stored heat differently from comets born in our own system. Perhaps its materials were shaped in environments where stars shone hotter, or where dust carried unusual properties. Such origins could create grains that hold warmth longer, release it steadily, and glow in softer tones. Whatever the reason, the fading light felt like watching a lantern gently drifting down a river. At night, its glow slowly becoming one with the darkness. Take a slow breath and let that lantern float quietly through your imagination. As the days passed, the traveler continued outward, gliding through the region where sunlight loses its sharp edge. Here, warmth becomes memory. Shadows thicken, colors soften into silver and blue. It is a peaceful region, a place where worlds rest in long orbits and where spacecraft drift in near silence for years at a time. In this quiet realm, 3I Atlas moved with the same steady composure it had shown since the beginning of its approach. It left no visible trails, no sudden bursts of gas, no fragments, just a faint sphere of light, moving as though wrapped in its own gentle cocoon. Astronomers watched for any signs of rotation, the slight wobble that most comets display as they turn irregularly in space. But this traveler seemed to rotate so slowly, or so evenly, that the usual signs barely appeared. Its halo did not flicker. Its shape did not change. It turned, if it turned at all, like a sleeping body, shifting gently beneath a blanket. Some believe that objects traveling between stars might develop unusually balanced structures over time. Microscopic impacts, faint heating, long periods of cooling, all might smooth their surfaces round their shapes and steady their rotations, like stones softened by the slow movement of ancient rivers. Picture that now, a stone so ancient it has forgotten its rough edges, drifting silently through the dark. Around this time, the object began to show a new pattern in its light. It wasn't brightening, not in the dramatic way comets sometimes flare. Instead, the glow seemed to subtly reorganize itself. Certain wavelengths became slightly stronger. Others faded gently. The effect was small, but it gave scientists the sense that something within the traveler was settling, cooling, returning to equilibrium after its warm encounter with the Sunday. Some researchers compared it to the way metal cools after being heated, releasing stored energy slowly with faint, delicate colors. Others saw it as a relaxation, a cosmic exhale after a long, silent passage through warmth. Whatever the cause, the change felt soothing to those who observed it. In a world that often moves too quickly, here was something that moved slower than thought, slower than memory, slower than breath. And speaking of breath, take another gentle inhale and let it drift away softly. As 3I Atlas moved farther from the sun, its path crossed a region where the gravitational pull of different planets overlaps in subtle ways. These invisible threads can nudge an object, guide it, or shift its course slightly. Most comets react sharply to these changes. They wobble, they tilt, they drift unpredictably, like leaves caught in swirling breezes. But the traveler remained smooth. Its path bent in ways consistent with gravity's pull, yet without the chaotic tremors seen in other visitors. It responded not abruptly, but gracefully, a gentle arc rather than a jagged shift. Some astronomers found this deeply calming. In a universe full of violent collisions, 3I Atlas moved like a dancer, gliding through an empty stage. Each step measured, each motion soft blues, faint, quiet hues, the colors of starlight glancing off metal or reflected through thin waves of plasma. No one could say for certain what caused it. Some believed it may have been sunlight interacting with unusually smooth grains on its surface. Others thought it might be a kind of gentle ion glow, stirred by the solar wind, but never pushed or scattered. Whatever the cause, the effect was calming. Instead, each telescope returned the same answer. No dust, no long trails, no spreading plume. Nothing drifted away. It was as if the traveler passed through heat without shedding any part of itself, quiet and whole. This puzzled those who study comets. But the puzzlement was gentle, not frantic. It felt more like standing at the shore, watching a wave behave differently from what you've seen before. Unusual, yes, but also strangely peaceful. Instead, it deepens things, smooths them, erases sharpness, replaces chaos with composure. Imagine that now, the quiet dignity of something old, carrying the softness of time. As the object moved into regions where light is thin and shadows begin to stretch, its halo became harder to detect. Yet scientists were able to follow it through delicate measurements, faint reflections, tiny shifts in brightness, small echoes of sunlight bouncing off its cooling surface. Each observation felt like a gift, a last handful of glimpses before the traveler faded into the dark, where our instruments could no longer trace it. Some astronomers described the experience as bittersweet. They had watched it arrive, watched it warm, watched it glow, and now they were watching it leave, slowly, gently, inevitably. But even this departure felt peaceful. The traveler did not vanish suddenly. It dimmed the way evening slips into night, gradually, respectfully, leaving enough time for a final look. And in those final looks, many scientists felt a sense of gratitude, not for solving a mystery, but for being allowed to witness one. There was something soothing in the idea that not everything needs to be understood. Some things are meant simply to be observed, to be wondered at, to be appreciated gently. Take another slow breath and let that gratitude settle like soft starlight around you. As the traveler continued outward, still glowing faintly, still drifting in quiet dignity, the world prepared to lose sight of it entirely. But its story was not finished. There were still more subtle mysteries waiting in its faint light, more gentle surprises hidden in the calm. And together we continue forward with it, deeper into the soft dark of space, deeper into its quiet message, deeper into the peace of its long journey. As 3I Atlas continued its quiet retreat into the colder, softer regions of the solar system, a deeper sense of stillness seemed to wrap around it, as though the universe itself recognized its long journey and offered a gentler path forward, far from the warmth of the sun where shadows stretch endlessly and light becomes a fragile thread. The traveler began to reveal new subtleties, the kind that only appear when brightness fades and silence grows wide. Astronomers noticed the halo around it changing once more, not dramatically, not with sudden spikes or flashes, but with a slow settling, like the surface of a calm lake smoothing after a single ripple. The faint glow that once clung to its edges became thinner, more transparent, almost like breath condensing, and then fading again. Yet even in this gradual dimming, the object retained a hint of structure, a softness, shaped not by chaos, but by age. Some scientists suggested that the glow might come from fine particles, slowly cooling, releasing the last traces of energy stored during its passage near the sunday. Others believed the light was shaped by the way its surface scattered, the faintest rays still reaching it, turning sunlight into a delicate whisper. Whatever the cause, the effect was peaceful. Watching it dim felt like watching dusk turn into night, unhurried, inevitable, and strangely comforting. Take a slow breath, let it drift out gently, and feel the same quiet settle around you. As the object traveled farther, its path became more predictable, a long, smooth arc curving outward from our star. Gravity still guided it, but only lightly now, like a hand letting go of something precious, knowing it must continue on its own. The traveler did not resist. It drifted in the direction the cosmos offered, untroubled by change. Astronomers tracking its movement noticed small variations. Gentle, recurring nudges that had appeared earlier continued here as well. These nudges were faint, yet consistent, like a heartbeat, hidden beneath layers of stillness. Some believed they were caused by tiny amounts of energy, still leaving the object too subtle to illuminate space, yet strong enough to shape its drift. Others wondered if the slow cooling of deeper layers was releasing motion not in bursts, but in long, gentle exhales. No matter the explanation, the motion never felt chaotic. Each shift was soft, controlled, almost meditative. Scientists often spoke of these changes late into the night, their screens glowing pale in dark rooms. In those quiet hours when the world outside slept, the patterns unfolding from 3I Atlas felt like a quiet companion, steady, patient, and soothing. You might imagine that companionship now. A distant light drifting slowly, sharing its silence with you. As observations continued, one detail began to stand out. The light reflecting from the object no longer behaved like ordinary scattered sunlight. It seemed smoother, more aligned, bending softly as though guided by hidden textures on its surface. This unusual reflection had appeared earlier, but now, as the object cooled further, the effect became even clearer. Some researchers believed the surface grains might be unusually fine, or unusually smooth-shaped, by ages of interstellar travel, polished by countless collisions, too small for us to imagine. Others suggested that the grains could carry properties unknown in materials formed near our sun, perhaps forged by different kinds of stars long ago. The truth did not need to be known for the effect to feel magical. Light curved around the traveler gently like a thin veil shifting in a calm wind. Take another breath, slow and quiet, and imagine that veil drifting around you. As the traveler moved deeper into the outer regions, its faint glow occasionally strengthened, not in sharp bursts, but in soft, cool pulses. These were not bright enough to illuminate space, but they were just clear enough for astronomers to notice and record. Some compared the pulses to a quiet sigh, the object releasing bits of warmth gathered during its time near the Sunday. Others saw them as a kind of subtle cooling rhythm, like embers gently dimming, glowing a little brighter before settling back into shadow. Each pulse carried a soothing quality, nothing abrupt, nothing loud, just a gentle ebb and flow like distant tides brushing against a shore you cannot see. In observatories around the world, scientists paused often as they watched these patterns unfold. There is something deeply calming about seeing a cosmic object behave with such softness. It reminded them, and reminds us, that not all mysteries arrive with thunder. Some arrive like lullabies, and in this lullaby the traveler continued outward, far beyond the orbit of Earth, past the realm where most spacecraft roam lies, a region where sunlight is thin, soft, and pale. Here, shadows stretch forever. Here, objects move with a slowness that feels ancient. And here 3i Atlas found itself drifting into deeper quiet. Astronomers tracking it knew they would soon lose it entirely. Its light grew fainter with each passing day. Its halo dissolved into near invisibility. Soon only electronic whispers would mark its presence, faint data points, tiny echoes of detection. And yet, even as it faded, something remarkable happened. In its last clear images, 3i Atlas showed an almost perfect stillness. No flicker, no irregularities, just a single steady glow, softer now, but unchanged in its calm. It was as though the object were giving a final nod, a final moment of clarity before returning to the darkness it had known for so long. Scientists describe this last clarity as beautiful in a quiet way. A few said it felt like closing the cover of a book you loved, slowly, gently, knowing the story will stay with you. Take another slow breath. Let your exhale fall, like the last glow of a distant light. As the traveler continued outward, its presence slipped gently from our instruments. First the halo disappeared, then the faint shimmering core, then the last soft points of reflection. Finally, only silence remained. The silence of something ancient, returning home. And yet the object's journey is not truly over. It continues through the deep dark between stars, carrying the memory of its visit, carrying the softness of its glow, carrying a message, written not in words, but in quietness. And we follow, through science, through imagination, through the gentle rhythm of this story. As 3i Atlas drifted even farther into the expanding quiet beyond the planets, the last traces of sunlight softened against its darkened form. The regions it now entered were places where light becomes delicate, where warmth thins into memory, and where time feels slower, wider, almost liquid. Here the traveler seemed to settle into a deeper stillness, as though the cosmos itself were welcoming it back into obscurity. Astronomers continued to follow its motion through increasingly faint signals. Tiny fragments of reflected sunlight, barely visible, like the glow on a distant pebble beneath deep water. Each new detection required long exposures, quiet patience, and the gentle persistence of those who had grown attached to this calm, wandering visitor. And with each detection, the same surprising detail remained. Even as it faded, Atlas held its composure. There was no sudden dimming, no irregular flickers, no collapse into the fragments that some expected. Instead, it drifted with the same serene steadiness it had shown near the sun, unworried, unhurried, unchanged. Some scientists describe this as rare, others as beautiful. It is believed that its resilient structure, perhaps harder, denser, or smoother than the fragile comets we know, allowed it to keep its shape long after most comets would crumble. Still others suggested that the countless years it spent between stars had carved away weak layers, leaving behind only what could endure. Whatever the reason, the effect was soothing. Atlas felt less like a fragment of rock and more like an echo of something ancient, something shaped by time, in a place we have never seen. Take a slow breath, let it fall gently, and picture that ancient echo drifting farther from sight. As the traveler moved outward, it entered a region where sunlight becomes almost weightless and the sky grows steep with darkness. The halo around it, once faint but visible, dissolved into near invisibility. Yet astronomers could still detect soft variations in the spectrum of its returning light. These variations were tiny, gentle changes in the color of the faint glow, still reaching their instruments. Some wavelengths grew slightly stronger, others whispered more quietly, shifting like the colors of a distant horizon at dusk. Some researchers compared these changes to the cooling of metal after being warmed, a gradual settling, leaving delicate signatures in the fading light. Others believed that the object's surface was transitioning, responding to the cold in ways too subtle for us to fully interpret. Whatever the cause, these shifts were comforting to observe. They showed a kind of peaceful, natural order. The way warmth fades, the way surfaces adjust, the way journeys continue, even in silence. You might imagine these color shifts as the slow dimming of a lantern, not extinguished, but simply glowing more softly as night deepens. At this distance, few spacecraft could still see it, but one probe orbiting far from the sun managed to catch several final glimpses, quiet, grainy images of a small, steady light against an ocean of black. In each glimpse, Atlas appeared whole, as though untouched by everything it had passed through. Scientists found themselves speaking more quietly when they studied the images, as though noise might disturb the object's tranquility. There is something unusual about watching a cosmic visitor leave. It feels less like observing an object and more like saying goodbye to a story without words, a story written only in motion and light, a story carried across unimaginable distances. Take another gentle breath and let that story settle softly within you. Around this time, a few astronomers began reflecting on the traveler's origin once more. They knew they would soon lose it forever, not temporarily but permanently, and so they lingered on the question of where it came from. Some believed it was forged near a star very different from our own, where temperatures shaped its makeup into something heavier, more metallic, more enduring. Others thought it might once have been part of a larger body, a moon perhaps, or a fragment of a planetesimal, before being pushed into the interstellar dark. And some imagined something even gentler, that the traveler was simply one of countless wanderers drifting between stars, a piece of quiet matter shaped by conditions we can only imagine. Its origin mattered less than the feeling it evoked. It was a reminder that the universe holds stories older than life on Earth, older than our sun, older than anything we can meaningfully measure. The older a story is, the quieter it becomes. And 3I Atlas was very quiet. As it approached the outer reaches of the solar system, where sunlight is barely more than a pale thread, its glow became nearly impossible to detect. Only long stretches of exposure captured through sensitive instruments could reveal its presence. Yet even in this final stage, its motion remained graceful. There was no wobble, no disruption, only a long, steady arc, like the bow of a slow, ancient wave crossing a calm sea. Astronomers took these last detections with a sense of reverence. Each one felt like a soft farewell, the traveler waving once more before the darkness welcomed it fully. They spoke gently about it, sharing notes and impressions that sounded less like scientific discussions and more like the reflections of people who had witnessed something serene, something that reminded them of the vast, quiet patience of the cosmos. Take another breath. Allow your body to soften and imagine that final wave of light disappearing into the deep dark. And then, eventually, 3I Atlas passed into a region where even the most sensitive instruments could no longer follow it. Its light faded from every screen. Its path extended beyond what we could measure. All that remained was the memory of its presence. A gentle visitor that arrived silently, glowed softly, and departed with perfect calm. But even as it vanished, something lingered in the minds of those who followed it. The traveler had carried quiet contradictions, soft mysteries, subtle hints of a world older and stranger than our own. Not alarming mysteries, but peaceful ones, the kind that expand the imagination without unsettling it. And in that peaceful expansion we continue. The traveler is gone from view, but not from story. As 3I Atlas slipped deeper into the wide, unlit outskirts of the solar system, something profound settled over the scientists who had followed it from its first soft shimmer near Mars. There comes a moment when watching a distant traveler fade that one realizes how delicate our connection to these cosmic visitors truly is. We know them for only a breath of their ancient existence, a few months, perhaps a single year, before they drift back into the endless distance they emerged from. With 3I Atlas, this gentle realization felt especially strong, not because it was loud or dramatic, but because it was so exceptionally quiet. It had entered our solar system like a sigh, moved through sunlight like a drifting ember, and now it was fading into darkness with the same serene grace. Astronomers continued to track the last thin traces of its presence, barely detectable glints, soft echoes of reflected sunlight, faint signatures in long exposure images. Each signal was weaker than the one before, but each carried the same soothing calm that had defined the traveler from the beginning. Some scientists describe these final signals as ghost light, not because they were eerie, but because they were gentle and pale, like the afterglow of a lantern carried away into the night. Take a long, slow breath and let the thought of that distant lantern drift with you. At this point, the traveler was passing into a region where the sun is little more than a bright star. Here, the heat that once awakened its surface no longer reached it. Here, the halo that once shimmered around it dissolved entirely. The object now held only the faintest glimmer, a glimmer that belonged more to memory than to physical brightness. And yet, even as it dimmed to almost nothing, astronomers noticed something subtle in the pattern of its reflections. The light that did appear faint, as it was behaved with the same smoothness it had shown throughout its journey. There were no sudden flickers, no unexpected shifts. The traveler faded with the gentleness of a long exhale. Some believe this consistency reveals something fundamental about its surface, perhaps a uniformity shaped by ages of interstellar weather, or a structure refined by centuries of tiny cosmic impacts. Others think it reflects the same unusual materials hinted at earlier: dense grains, smooth textures, quiet resilience. But whatever explanation researchers offered, one thing was clear. The fading was beautiful. You can imagine it now. A small, ancient object, drifting slowly into a soft sea of darkness, glowing faintly like a coal cooling beneath snow. As the glow weakened, scientists revisited the long journey they had recorded, from the first images captured by a Mars orbiter, to the graceful approach toward the Sun, to the serene and puzzling behavior near perihelion, and then to the long, gentle retreat now unfolding. Each phase carried its own quiet wonder. Each step felt like a small meditation in cosmic time. Some astronomers confessed that following 3I Atlas had changed the way they looked at the night sky. Before, they saw space as a place defined mostly by extremes, violent explosions, powerful magnetic storms, sudden bursts of energy. But this traveler reminded them that the universe also moves in soft rhythms, slow changes, quiet transitions, gentle drifts across vast distances. It was a lesson not in power, but in patience. Take another deep breath, let it settle warmly, and surrender a little more to the quiet this story offers. In those final weeks of visibility, when the traveler's light was little more than a whisper, the scientific community shared its last measurements with a kind of wistful care. They knew they were documenting the closing moments of a rare encounter, one that would not repeat in any of their lifetimes. The final images showed a small, nearly featureless point of light, barely distinguishable from the dark behind it. But for those who had watched it from the beginning, that faint dot carried the weight of everything they had learned and everything they still did not understand. Some scientists saved the very last image, a pixel on a screen, soft and unassuming, and kept it as a quiet reminder of how vast and gentle the cosmos can be. A few even described their experience with 3I Atlas as feeling like listening to a story told in a whisper. A story without beginning or end. A story carried across the dark for millions of years. As the traveler slipped farther away, its presence began to shift from observation to reflection. The object was still there, still drifting outward, still continuing a path that no human eye would ever watch again. But now, its meaning settled in the hearts and minds of those who had spent so many nights studying it. And that meaning was simple, quiet, and profound. The universe is not only made of loud, spectacular events, it is also made of soft movements, slow travelers, quiet reminders that beauty exists in calmness too. Take one more slow breath. Let your chest rise gently and exhale into stillness. Now, as 3I Atlas moved beyond the reach of every telescope, beyond the sensitivity of every instrument, it entered a kind of cosmic anonymity, the same anonymity it had known for countless ages before it first brushed against our awareness. It returned to being what it had always been, a small wandering seed in the vastness between stars, a traveler moving with purpose known only to the universe itself. Even though it disappeared from our view, its story stayed behind. Scientists continued to think about its softness, its steadiness, its quiet defiance of expectations. And through these thoughts, 3I Atlas remained present in an entirely new way. Some described it as a message, though not a message written intentionally. A message of calmness, of resilience, of the quiet ways the cosmos expresses itself when no one is watching. And as we follow its memory now, we too drift a little deeper into that calm, into that serenity, into that gentle, star-filled quiet. Because the story of 3I Atlas is no longer about where it is, but about what it reminds us of. As 3I Atlas continued its steady drift into the vast darkness that surrounds the solar system, a remarkable quietness settled over the scientists who were still watching, not the quietness of silence, but the quietness of understanding, of acceptance, of letting go. The traveler had offered everything it could offer in light and motion. Now, as its glow faded beyond reach, what remained was the impression it left behind, soft, subtle, lingering, like the final chords of a lullaby. Telescopes scanned the region where it should have been. All they found were faint probabilities, tiny hints of reflection that might have belonged to the object, or might have been starlight scattered by dust. The difference no longer mattered. The time of direct observation had passed. The traveler had moved just beyond knowing, yet the scientists did not feel loss. Instead, they felt something warmer, something gentler. They had watched an interstellar visitor move through the sun's embrace without chaos, without fear, without the usual unraveling that comets experience. To witness that calmness was enough. Some researchers described the experience as similar to watching a bird disappear into a forest. You cannot follow it forever. You simply stand quietly, grateful for the moment you saw it. Take a slow breath and let that gratitude soften the air around you. With the traveler now fading, astronomers turned their attention to the patterns it left in their data, the smooth arc of its path, the serene glow of its halo, the subtle ways its light changed over time. These pieces of information would become quiet anchors in their long records, gentle reminders of a visitor that behaved unlike anything expected. In their nightly meetings, many spoke softly about what 3I Atlas had revealed. Though each scientist studied it through equations and instruments, the object had sparked something almost emotional. Its calmness had affected them, its steady drift, its silence, its refusal to break apart under pressure. In a field dominated by numbers, it had offered a feeling. And feelings too are a kind of knowledge. Some astronomers began to reflect on how little we know of the space between stars, that vast ocean where objects wander alone for millions of years. Perhaps, they said, calmness is the natural state of the interstellar dark. Perhaps objects shaped there move with a grace that our solar system rarely sees, softened by time instead of shattered by heat. Others suggested that the long journey smooths things, rounds edges, cools surfaces, quietly polishes both material and motion. It is comforting to imagine that space itself can soften what travels through it. Imagine that now, an ancient traveler, gently sculpted by the hands of the cosmos, moving through the dark, with no urgency, no fear, only the deep patience of a million-year journey. Take a long breath and let it fall slowly. As scientists studied the last fragments of data, one detail stood out like a soft echo: the direction from which 3I Atlas had come. Its trajectory pointed back toward a region of the sky known for a mysterious radio signal long ago, a brief unexplained whisper that scientists had once hoped might be something profound. The traveler did not come from exactly the same spot, but close enough to stir imagination. Not in a dramatic way, but in a poetic one. Some researchers paused on this thought, not to speculate wildly, but to appreciate the symmetry. Two mysteries separated by decades, passing softly near each other in the vast dark like drifting leaves on a slow river. Most believed the connection was coincidence, yet the coincidence felt gentle, like a quiet reminder that the universe sometimes arranges events with an artist's touch. And it is believed that even coincidences can teach us something about wonder. By now the traveler was in a region where sunlight no longer had strength to warm it. The faint glow that once traced its surface had faded entirely, leaving behind only a dark, enduring body continuing on into the cold. But in that emptiness, it seemed to hold its identity more strongly than ever. Not as a comet, not as a fragment, but as a pure traveler, a wanderer shaped by a world we will never see. Some astronomers wrote quietly about how interstellar objects might carry stories not written in symbols but in their structure, in their motion, in the way they react to the sun's warmth. 3. I, Atlas, they wrote, carried a story of calm endurance. You might imagine that story as a small flame sheltered within a shell, anchored through freezing winds, traveling between star systems with unwavering patience. Take a soft breath. Feel the calmness of that image settle over you. As the traveler drifted beyond Mars, beyond Jupiter, beyond even the farthest spacecraft, scientists began to wonder how long it would continue. Some believed it would wander forever, circling no star, carrying its ancient materials across the galaxy like a seed drifting on cosmic winds. Others believed it might one day pass near another star, and in that distant future, another civilization, or perhaps another generation of humans, might see its glow and feel the same quiet wonder. The idea felt soothing, that even as this story ends for us, it may begin for someone else, somewhere, far away, someday long from now. Astronomers discussed this possibility softly, like a bedtime thought, shared in the dimness of a quiet room. Knowing the object continues, knowing it stays whole, knowing it carries the memory of our sun with it, brought a sense of gentle closure. And so, the story of 3, I, Atlas, shifted from observation to imagination. Its presence moved from our telescopes to our minds, where it would linger like a lullaby sung by the universe itself. Take one more slow breath and let your exhale drift outward, like a traveler fading into starlight. For now, the object is almost gone from even the most sensitive detectors, but its peaceful journey continues, a quiet thread, weaving through the dark between stars, unchanged, unrushed, undisturbed. And here in the soft rhythm of storytelling, we continue with it, letting its calmness guide our thoughts deeper into quiet. As 3I Atlas continued its slow retreat into the dark outskirts of the solar system, astronomers began to notice something almost poetic in its fading light. Even as its brightness weakened, even as its halo dissolved into shadow, the traveler still held a quiet coherence, a shape that did not crumble, a motion that did not waver. Most comets unravel long before reaching this part of space, but this visitor, older than our sun, older perhaps than the stories of our galaxy, drifted onward with an almost timeless steadiness. Those watching from Earth felt something change in their work. It was no longer only about tracking numbers on a screen or calibrating faint signals. It had become something more delicate, a kind of listening. Observing 3I Atlas began to feel like listening to the last notes of a song played softly across a long distance. The melody was almost gone, yes, but the feeling it carried lingered warmly in the quiet. Take a slow breath now, and imagine yourself listening to that final fading note. At the farthest observatories, the ones built on high mountain peaks and in silent deserts, astronomers spent long nights waiting for the faintest returns of light. Some nights brought nothing, others brought a faint ghost-like shimmer that could just barely be distinguished from the surrounding stars. Each shimmer became a small treasure, not because it answered questions, but because it allowed the story to continue a little longer. In these last days of visibility, one detail stood out more clearly than before. The object's path remained astonishingly smooth. No irregular twists, no sudden dimming, no signs of its structure collapsing. It simply continued forward, like a lone whisper carried by a wind that never changes direction. Some scientists suggested that its materials, whatever they were, held together more tightly than typical cometary grains, resisting the fragile cracking that sunlight often provokes. Others believed its long interstellar voyage might have polished away everything weak, leaving behind a core of pure endurance. Whatever the truth, 3I Atlas was drifting into the dark with the quiet dignity of something that had crossed unimaginable distances and learned how to endure them. As its glow weakened, astronomers began reconstructing its entire journey through the inner solar system. They traced again the smoothness of its path, the calmness of its glow near the Sunday, the serenity with which it crossed Mars's orbit, the soft symmetry of its light, and the gentle, unexplained motions that followed it like subtle breaths of energy released without chaos or sound. These reconstructions felt almost like memories, moments revisited not to solve a problem, but to appreciate a presence. You might imagine those memories as lanterns along a quiet path, each one glowing softly, lighting the way toward understanding. One of the most soothing qualities about 3I Atlas was how it interacted with the Sunday. Instead of erupting like most comets, instead of flaring uncontrollably, it warmed gently, glowed quietly, and released its stored energy with patience. Some scientists believe it cooled just as patiently. As the traveler moved through the cold again, small changes in its faint light suggested a slow settling, a deeper quiet forming on its surface. There is something deeply calming about imagining an object cooling after its long, warm encounter, like a stone taken from the shore at sunset, its heat fading into the night air. Take another breath. Let it soften the space within your chest. As the object reached a region where even the most powerful telescopes could barely detect it, astronomers began preparing for the inevitable moment when it would slip beyond observation. Some felt a gentle sadness, the way one feels at the end of a quiet, meaningful conversation. Others felt gratitude not for the answers they found, but for the experience itself. A few scientists wrote notes in their journals, not technical notes, but personal reflections. They wrote about the feeling of watching something so ancient move so calmly through space. They wrote about late nights spent waiting for a faint shimmer. They wrote about how, in those quiet hours, the universe felt both larger and more intimate. One researcher wrote, "It is comforting to know that something can cross the sun's heat and still leave quietly untouched by chaos." Another wrote, "Watching it felt like watching time itself move softly." These reflections were never published in papers, but they were shared quietly among colleagues, as people share stories around a glowing fireplace, not to explain, but to feel. By now 3I Atlas was nearly gone from measurable space. Its light was too faint to separate from the background, its motion too distant to follow. But the scientists continued checking. One last time, and then one more time, not out of necessity, but out of respect. And slowly, gently, one night came when the final attempt returned nothing. No shimmer, no flicker, just the soft dark of space, a dark that felt peaceful, not empty. Take a long, quiet breath, and imagine that final moment as the traveler's presence dissolves into the night. But though it had vanished from sight, its influence remained vivid in every mind that had followed it. 3I Atlas had shown that interstellar visitors can move not with violence but with grace, not with chaos but with patience, not with destruction but with endurance. It reminded the world that the universe is not always loud. Sometimes it is gentle. Sometimes it is slow. Sometimes it speaks in long, quiet gestures. And those gestures, once seen, stay with us. Even now, long after the last measurement, astronomers still mention 3I Atlas when discussing the mysteries of interstellar space. Its calm journey became a reference point, a soft landmark in the vast ocean of cosmic possibilities. And as we continue this story, we carry that calmness with us, following the traveler not with our eyes but with our imagination. As the traveler slipped farther from the reach of our instruments, a new kind of quiet unfolded. A quiet, not of distance, but of reflection. 3. I, Atlas, had become something more than an interstellar visitor. It had become a gentle mirror, reflecting our curiosity, our patience, and our desire to understand the softest corners of the universe. Even though the object was now beyond direct detection, astronomers still gathered around their screens reviewing old images again and again, not because they expected to find something new, but because the journey itself had become a comfort, a reminder that discovery can be peaceful, that the cosmos can whisper instead of roar. Take a slow breath and let your thoughts drift, the way the traveler drifted, unhurried, weightless, soft. As months passed and 3i Atlas moved deeper into the outer dark, scientists turned their focus to understanding the subtle anomalies it had shown, not to chase explanations, but to appreciate them as gentle reminders of how much lies beyond our understanding. One anomaly that lingered in their minds was the faint, consistent acceleration it showed near the Sunday. There was nothing explosive, nothing dramatic, just a small, persistent push, as though the object breathed out energy without ever revealing its source. Some scientists believed this breath came from gas too fine to reflect light. Others thought it might be caused by cooling layers beneath the surface, shifting gently, releasing motion, the way cooling metal contracts. But all agreed that the effect was subtle and soothing in its subtlety. It was an anomaly that did not disturb the mind, but rather invited it to slow down. Imagine that now, an object moving forward on the softest of exhales. Another gentle puzzle lay in its reflection of sunlight. Even in its final weeks of visibility, its light bent in unusual patterns, patterns that suggested its surface was smoother or more finely grained than typical comets. Some researchers imagined grains polished by millions of years of quiet drift through interstellar dust. Others imagined origins near stars unlike our sun, where temperatures and pressures shape worlds into new forms. These ideas were not conclusions, only soft speculations. But that was enough. The questions themselves felt comforting, like the way one wonders about the life of a seashell discovered on a quiet beach. Take a slow breath and picture that smooth, cosmic seashell drifting in the dark. As the traveler continued outward, its faint glow slipped beyond even the longest exposures of our largest telescopes. Yet scientists found themselves speaking of it often, recalling its quiet path, its unexpected calmness, its serene refusal to behave like anything familiar. In seminars and conferences, researchers often paused before discussing it, as though preparing to remember something cherished, something delicate. They spoke softly about the way it glowed near the sun without disorder, how it passed by Mars with a halo steady and smooth, how it dimmed, not with violence, but with grace. In this way, 3i Atlas became something rare in science, a discovery that brought not urgency, but peace. One astronomer wrote privately, "It reminded me that the universe is not only vast, it is gentle too in ways we seldom notice." Another wrote, "The calmness of its travel made me breathe slower." Imagine that now, a scientific discovery that helps the world breathe more gently. As time passed, researchers began piecing together its long history. They traced backward across its journey, mapping each moment it crossed paths with sunlight, each shift in color, each breath of acceleration. What emerged was a portrait not of an object in crisis, but of an object in harmony, a wanderer shaped by ages, not moments, a traveler softened by time, not shattered by it. Some scientists compared its endurance to the resilience of old stones, shaped by river currents, slowly rounded, slowly polished, slowly transformed by gentle pressures. Others compared it to the glow of ancient starlight, quiet, steady, present, long after the source is gone. You might imagine it now, drifting like an old stone, through a cosmic river, its surface smoothed by starlight. As models projected its path into the far future, astronomers realized that 3I Atlas would spend countless more years in emptiness. It would drift through regions unvisited by any spacecraft, through darkness deeper than any night on Earth, carrying with it a memory of our sun, a memory stored as warmth, as light, as silence. And perhaps in another age, another world might see it pass through their sky and wonder about the same gentle mysteries we did. This thought brought a quiet comfort to many. It made the universe feel connected, not by proximity, but by shared moments of wonder. Take another slow breath and let your imagination stretch outward, beyond planets, beyond stars, into the soft infinity where travelers wander. As detectives of the cosmos continued discussing 3I Atlas, they realized that its greatest gift was not the anomalies it carried, though those were fascinating, but the reminder of how softly beauty can appear. It did not flare, it did not shatter, it did not roar through the sky. Instead, it arrived quietly, moved gracefully, and faded with dignity. Its entire visit was a lesson in gentleness, and perhaps that is why it lingered in the hearts of those who followed it. In a world full of noise, here was something that moved in perfect calm, something ancient, something patient, something that reminded us of the value of stillness. As the traveler's presence shifted from observable to remembered, scientists found themselves speaking of it more like a poem than a data set, a soft chapter in the long story of the cosmos. And now we continue turning that chapter together, letting its quietness draw us deeper into calm, into reflection, into the vastness that cradles all travelers. As the memory of 3I Atlas settled gently into scientific archives, a new phase of understanding began, not through new data, but through contemplation. When an object slips beyond sight, the mind is free to wander with it, drifting into the quiet places where imagination and science meet softly. Astronomers found themselves returning in thought to those first clear images from the Mars probe, when the traveler looked like a small sphere wrapped in a pale, even glow. They remembered how strangely tranquil it appeared, how its halo shimmered without turbulence, how it glided through sunlight like a drifting ember, anchored in calm. These memories became the foundation for how they spoke of the object now, not as a mystery to solve, but as a moment to appreciate. Take a slow breath and let that moment drift through you once more. As discussions deepened, many researchers began reflecting on why this interstellar visitor had affected them so differently than others before it. Some interstellar bodies have startled the world with sharp tumbling, with abrupt flares, with chaotic jets. But 3I Atlas was different. It behaved like a traveler who had learned long ago how to move gently, how to accept the currents of space without resistance. Some scientists believe this softness may reveal something essential about the interstellar medium, not a place of violence or confusion, but a place of slow forces, tiny nudges, delicate shaping across millions upon millions of years. Its surface might have been polished by that subtle shaping, its motion guided by faint gravitational murmurs between stars, its structure refined by long stretches of cold where only the strongest materials survive. You might imagine these forces as quiet hands smoothing a stone moment by moment, until the stone becomes a small, perfect shape, drifting through eternity. In long night conversations, the kind held over warm cups of tea in dim observatory rooms, researchers often spoke of how this visitor reminded them of the gentle side of the universe. Not all cosmic events must be explosive. Not all discoveries must be loud. Some arrive like a soft wind moving across tall grass. Some glow like moonlight on calm water. 3I Atlas became a symbol of that quieter universe. One astronomer wrote, "It made me realize how much silence there must be out there, silence so wide it could hold 1,000 galaxies. Another wrote, "It drifted as if it belonged everywhere." Take another slow breath and let the idea of that wide silence soothe you. As the traveler moved into deeper darkness, researchers began analyzing the small anomalies it had shown more gently, not as puzzles, but as pieces of a calm story. There was the unusual smoothness of its glow, which some believed hinted at fine metallic grains or surfaces formed in hotter, older star systems, and the faint, consistent push it experienced near the sun, perhaps caused by delicate gases escaping too subtly to reflect light. There was its remarkable refusal to form a tail, its even rotation, its serene path across the planetary plane. None of these mysteries demanded immediate answers. Instead, they offered gentle pauses, moments where science breathed out and admitted, "We do not know yet, and that is okay." It is this kind of honesty, soft and unhurried, that allows understanding to deepen over time. As scientists revisited their observations, they found themselves slowing down, noticing small details they had rushed past earlier. They saw how the traveler brightened in cool colors, not warm ones. They saw how its faint halo never fragmented. They saw how its path aligned, not by precision, but by harmony. These realizations settled like dust on an untouched windowsill, quiet, gentle, soft reminders of something meaningful. And as the object continued drifting outward, its presence lingered in quiet hours, not as data, but as sensation, not as calculation, but as memory. Imagine now the traveler moving into the deep beyond the region, where sunlight becomes a thread, where stars look sharper against the dark, where even time seems to stretch. It drifts softly, its glow almost gone, still holds a fraction of what it gathered near the Sunday. A warmth carried across emptiness like the last ember in a sleeping fire. Astronomers imagined its future thousands of years spent gliding between faint gravitational tides, crossing the boundary where our solar system gives way to the galactic sea, slipping into regions where starlight grows thin and rare. Somewhere far ahead, another star may shine faintly in its path. Another world may notice its small, patient glow. Another mind may wonder, as we did, what stories it carries. This thought soothed those who studied it. It reminded them that the universe is not a closed system of events, but an open tapestry where stories unfold, slowly passing through civilizations, separated not only by distance but by epochs. Take a breath, deep and easy, and imagine your mind drifting with that tapestry. In the months that followed, scientists revisited their notes on the object's behavior near the sun, that region where most comets fracture or flare violently. But 3I Atlas had moved through that warmth with the same serenity it carried in the cold. Some suggested this calmness meant its materials were bound more tightly than ice and dust ordinarily are. Others wondered whether its interior stored heat differently, releasing it as a soft glow rather than a torrent of vapor. But all agreed on one truth. It did not fight the Sunday. It danced with it. It let itself warm, let itself glow, and then let itself cool without resistance. A quiet dance between a star and a traveler. You can feel that quiet dance now. A slow harmony of warmth and shadow. And so, as the story of 3I Atlas continued to settle into scientific memory, a peaceful lesson emerged. The universe is full of travelers, some loud, some wild, some brief, but others like this one move with a calmness that invites reflection, a calmness that teaches us to watch slowly, to listen gently, to rest within the mystery. As we walk with this story deeper into the night, the traveler's glow fades, but its presence does not. It lingers in the soft place where science meets wonder, where curiosity meets peace. As the tale of 3I Atlas continued to drift through the scientific community, a gentle shift began to unfold, the kind of shift that happens when a mystery no longer asks to be solved, but simply to be appreciated. The traveler had long since moved beyond any instrument, strong enough to see it, yet its presence lingered like a faint warmth after a candle is blown out. Researchers who had watched it for weeks, then months, found themselves thinking about it often in quiet moments, not because they expected new insights, but because its calm journey had become a part of their own sense of the cosmos. Sometimes late at night, they pulled up the earliest images again, the ones taken by Tianwen, ones showing a softly glowing sphere framed by the distant dark. Even though the images were simple, their stillness carried something soothing, a reminder that the universe holds places of peace as surely as it holds storms. Take a slow breath, let it rise gently, and picture that first image glowing softly in the back of your mind. As conversations continued, scientists returned to one particularly gentle puzzle: the way the traveler responded to sunlight. Most comets erupt with wild jets as they warm, their surfaces boiling into vapor, their shapes changing dramatically from moment to moment. But 3I Atlas had warmed with such care. It had glowed in steady, calming tones. It had released whatever energy it held with softness, as though it understood how to move through heat without breaking. Some astronomers believed this meant the object had a dense, structured interior, a core shaped not by fragile ice, but by tougher materials, forged in environments very different from our own. Others wondered if its long interstellar journey had allowed weaker components to flake away, leaving behind only what could endure: endless, cold, and scattered warmth. Whatever the truth was, the feeling it created was the same: a sense of deep resilience, quiet strength, the kind that grows slowly and without spectacle. Imagine that now, the quiet strength of something shaped over millions of years. As the months passed, a new appreciation began to take root in the scientific community, an appreciation for the gentle rhythm the object had moved with. Its path across the inner solar system had not been chaotic. It had glided, even when invisible forces nudged it. Its response had been soft, as though guided by a subtle harmony woven into its structure. In a world full of equations and certainties, this harmony felt like a melody no one had expected to hear. Some scientists discussed this idea softly, almost shyly, during quiet gatherings after long observation shifts. They spoke of the object as though it were a visitor who taught them something about patience, about watching without rushing, about letting the universe reveal itself slowly. One researcher described it beautifully. It was like following a falling feather. No two moments were the same, yet nothing was ever sudden. Take another breath. Slow, gentle. Let that feather drift with you. Even long after the traveler had vanished, the data it left behind continued to reveal delicate details. Patterns that had once seemed puzzling now felt poetic. The slight blue tint in its glow near the sun, the smoothness of its halo, the slow decline in brightness as it drifted outward. Everything about it hinted at a life lived in quiet conditions, places where light is rare, where motion happens slowly, where time is not measured in days or years, but in ages. This realization softened the scientific approach. Instead of trying to compress its story into familiar categories: comet, asteroid, fragment, researchers allowed themselves to imagine it more openly. Some began thinking of it as a traveler shaped by star winds. Others saw it as a messenger from realms where chemistry behaves differently, where temperatures sculpt worlds in unfamiliar ways. And many simply saw it as a reminder of the vastness we rarely consider, the quiet stretches between stars, the gentle forces that move through the galaxy unnoticed. Picture those stretches now, wide, calm, deep as sleep. Another idea drifted softly through discussions: the possibility that 3I Atlas might not be unique, not in its behavior, but in its serenity. Perhaps interstellar space shapes objects in ways we do not yet understand. Perhaps that immense cold smooths surfaces, balances rotations, and creates a kind of cosmic stillness that we rarely witness up close. This thought comforted many scientists. It suggested that calmness, not chaos, might be the more natural state of the deep cosmos. And the idea of a quiet universe, soft, patient, slowly breathing, brought a sense of peace to those who studied it. Take another breath. Know that you are breathing in rhythm with the cosmos itself. In later months, as articles and research papers circulated, a gentle shift became clear. 3. Atlas had not merely added to scientific knowledge, it had softened the way people thought about interstellar visitors. No longer were such objects seen only as strange intruders. They were now viewed as ancient wanderers, reminders of time, so vast it becomes soothing to think about. A few scientists even began discussing how these visitors might offer emotional lessons about how to move through the world quietly, how to survive heat and cold without breaking, how to carry light without forcing it outward. These were not scientific conclusions, but quiet reflections, the kind people share in a dim room near midnight when the world feels gentle and wide. As the traveler's story continued to ripple outward through research communities, it inspired a question that felt more poetic than analytical. What else moves this gently through the galaxy? It is believed that millions of interstellar objects may pass unseen through the outer regions of our solar system every year, far too faint and far too still for us to detect. Perhaps many of them share the same calmness. Perhaps the dark is full of slow, peaceful wanderers. This idea brought comfort, as if the universe were not an empty void, but a quiet ocean filled with drifting seeds. Imagine that now. An ocean of stars, an ocean of travelers, moving slowly, endlessly, softly. The story of 3I Atlas was far from finished, even though the object itself had vanished beyond sight. Its legacy now lived in minds, in quiet conversations, in the soft rhythm of scientific wonder. And as we move deeper into this tale, we continue to follow the echo of that gentle traveler, carried now, not by light, but by memory. As the memory of 3I Atlas settled deeper into scientific thought, a quiet transformation began within everyone who had studied it. The traveler was no longer simply an anomaly or a data set. It had become a gentle presence, a symbol of how softly the universe can speak when we are ready to listen. In the silence that followed its disappearance, astronomers found themselves returning not to the numbers, but to the feelings the object had stirred. Late at night, when observatories were quiet and only the soft hum of cooling systems filled the air, they reopened the old images. They zoomed in on the faint sphere wrapped in its smooth halo, not to analyze, but to remember. Some said the object looked like a floating ember. Others said it resembled a single drop of starlight that had lost its home. But most agreed on one thing: 3I Atlas carried a calmness that was rare in the universe. Take a long, slow breath, as if you are breathing in that calmness. The conversations slowly shifted from what was it to what did it teach us? Scientists with decades of experience found themselves reflecting on the subtle behaviors of the traveler, how it refused to shed violent jets near the sun, how its halo remained smooth, how its glow pulsed gently instead of flaring, how it glided without chaos or complaint. These behaviors suggested something deeper than physics, a story of endurance, a story of patience, a story written across millions of years of wandering through the cold spaces between stars. One astronomer wrote in her private notes, "It felt old in the softest way, not worn, just timeless." Another wrote, "Watching it move made me wonder what quiet really means." Take another breath. Let your shoulders release and allow that idea of cosmic quiet to widen inside you. As more months passed, the object's path was plotted farther into the future. a long, slow arc that would lead it out of the solar system entirely past the outer edges, where scattered comets drift past the regions, where sunlight is only a past whisper, and into the vast galactic dark where it had once come from. No one would follow it there. No instruments could. But the knowledge that it continued, unbroken, unafraid, moving steadily into the infinite, brought a sense of comfort. Some scientists imagined it carrying a faint memory of our sun, a tiny warmth tucked into its ancient layers, stored quietly, held tenderly, like a keepsake from a brief meeting. Others imagined it continuing its journey untouched, just as silent, just as graceful, passing through the galactic tides without ever knowing it had been seen. And in that imagining there was a soft kind of hope. Hope that the universe holds many such wanderers, each shaped by distant suns, each carrying quiet stories. Imagine that now, a stream of ancient travelers moving slowly through the dark, so gentle they leave no wake. When scientists reconstructed every stage of its journey near the sun, a deeper appreciation surfaced. They saw how the traveler warmed, not in bursts, but in a gentle unfolding. They saw how it cooled, not in collapse, but in a soft dimming. They saw how its path aligned with observation windows in ways that felt almost serendipitous, as though the universe wanted it to be seen not loudly but just enough. These reflections created a sense of wonder that was hard to articulate. The universe had offered something quiet, and humanity had been quiet enough to notice. Take a breath in and let it drift out slowly. As researchers looked again at the faint blue glimmer the traveler once gave off near the sun, they found themselves imagining the surface that produced such light. Maybe it was smooth, like cooled metal. Maybe it was coated in grains shaped by long cosmic winds. Maybe it was layered in ways we cannot yet comprehend. Layers formed under a different star, a different chemistry, a different era. These thoughts were not written into papers, but spoken softly in the hallways of observatories, shared like bedtime stories between curious minds. 3I Atlas had become a story, a gentle one, told not in urgency, but in quiet appreciation. Another lingering reflection centered on the region of sky. The traveler had come from a place associated with an old mysterious signal, detected decades ago. The connection was faint, certainly coincidence, yet it stirred something in the imagination. Not suspicion, but poetry. It reminded people that the universe has long memories. Paths cross, mysteries echo each other, not with intention, but with the soft randomness of nature. And sometimes those echoes feel meaningful simply because they awaken the same sense of wonder. You may feel that wonder now settling gently inside you like a falling leaf. As the story continued to ripple through scientific circles, a broader theme began to emerge: that not all discoveries change our understanding through answers. Some change us through beauty, some through mood, some through the simple reminder that even in a universe so full of violent events, something can move with remarkable gentleness. 3I Atlas had done just that. It came quietly, glowed softly, and left gracefully. And in doing so, it helped people slow down. Some scientists described it as a meditation, a cosmic one that unfolded slowly across months of observation. Others said it made them look at the night sky differently, with more softness, more patience, more curiosity. And many began to feel that the traveler had offered a subtle lesson that the universe is not always shouting. Sometimes it is whispering. Sometimes the whisper is the more beautiful thing. Take another long, slow breath and imagine drifting with that whisper, now deeper, into calm. The story of 3I Atlas was not about answers at all. It was about presence, a presence that left the scientific world just a little gentler, just a little quieter, just a little more aware. of the soft rhythms woven through the cosmos. And as we continue this script into the next chapters, we carry those rhythms with us, letting them guide us deeper into the soothing dark, toward the deeper reflections still waiting in this journey. As the months unfolded, the quiet legacy of 3I Atlas continued to ripple through observatories, universities, and quiet corners of the scientific world. Not with urgency, not with debate, but with a kind of soft remembering. The traveler's glow had faded from telescopes, but not from thought. It had become, in a gentle way, a companion, a symbol of the universe's softer moods. Scientists who had once rushed between instruments and calculations now found themselves pausing, more often as though the traveler had taught them something about the value of slowing down. Even long after the object vanished into the dark, the atmosphere in many observatories felt changed, quieter, more contemplative, as if shaped by the calmness of the visitor they had watched drift across their sky. Take a slow breath now. Let your chest rise softly and let your exhale fall into silence. In the months after 3I Atlas disappeared, many astronomers revisited the few anomalies that had puzzled them. The soft blue glow, the gentle acceleration, the smoothness of its coma, the lack of a noisy tail. They studied each one in the gentle light of hindsight, not demanding answers but seeking understanding with patience. One recurring theme was the object's silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of behavior. Comets often speak through eruptions. They hiss, flare, fragment, leaving bright signatures in their wake. But this visitor had behaved almost like a sleeping creature, breathing softly in the warmth of a star. Some scientists believed that meant its interior was different, not the loose mixture of ice and dust seen in most comets, but something denser, smoother, perhaps shaped in a star system, where temperatures had been higher, or where materials had combined in rare ways. Others imagined its long interstellar journey had eroded its outer layers until only the strongest, most stable structure remained, a kind of cosmic sculpture carved by time itself. Whatever the explanation, the traveler's behavior had left a mark on everyone who studied it. You might picture that silence now, like the stillness of a dark lake at midnight, reflecting nothing but peace. Another topic of gentle fascination was the object's trajectory through the solar system. While most interstellar visitors arrive from unpredictable angles, moving as if tossed by ancient gravitational storms, 3I Atlas had drifted through with surprising harmony, staying close to the plane of our planets, aligning itself with multiple observation windows, as though by soft celestial coincidence. The more scientists reviewed this path, the more serene it seemed. Not precise like a machine, not sharp like a calculation, but graceful, as if the object had simply followed the natural contours of space with deep and ancient familiarity. Some astronomers described it as a feather gliding on invisible currents. Others said it reminded them of the way a leaf rides the gentlest parts of a river, never fighting the flow. Taking another breath in and slowly out, you may feel that same flow within you. There was also the curious way light bent around its surface, even in its weakest stages of brightness. The light it reflected held a subtle polarization, a soft twisting that hinted at textures finer than dust, perhaps even at layers formed under great heat before the object ever left its home. Star. Some scientists allowed themselves to imagine entire worlds where such materials might come from. Planets with shimmering crusts, moons forged near brilliant suns, asteroid belts glowing faintly with metals not yet studied on Earth. These imaginings were not conclusions, but dreams, the gentle kind that arise naturally in the presence of beauty. And 3I Atlas, in its own quiet way, had been beautiful. As the months drifted on, researchers from different countries shared their final papers and analyses. Most were cautious, scientific, precise, but beneath the surface, between the lines, One could feel the softness that had touched the scientific community. One paper ended with a sentence rarely found in academic writing. "This object reminds us that the universe still holds more calm than chaos." Another ended with, "It moved, as though time itself had taught it patience." In lecture halls and online discussions, students ask questions, not about shock or fear, but about gentleness. Why did it glow so softly? Why did it avoid fragmentation? Why did its path seem so smooth? Could interstellar space really shape objects this gracefully? These questions, asked quietly, carried a sense of wonder that had been missing from many scientific conversations. Take another deep breath. Allow wonder to settle gently inside you like quiet snowfall. As 3I Atlas moved farther into the outer dark past the boundaries of our solar system, scientists imagined the conditions it would pass through. They pictured faint starlight brushing its surface once every decade, soft dust drifting like cosmic fog, and distances so vast that time itself seemed to slow. They imagined the object glowing faintly only in memory, drifting past icy fragments, untouched for billions of years, moving toward regions where gravity grows thin and stars become scattered jewels. One astronomer described it beautifully. "It's entering the quietest part of the galaxy, the part where even light seems to whisper." You can imagine that region now. A deep ocean of silence where travelers drift for ages without meeting another object. As the scientific community reflected on the traveler's journey, a shared sentiment emerged that its calmness had offered something precious. Not knowledge alone, but perspective. It reminded people that the cosmos is not always violent or chaotic. Sometimes it is gentle and slow and full of soft movements that soothe rather than startle. It reminded them that discovery is not always about answers. Sometimes it is about stillness. And in that stillness, they found peace. As we move deeper into this story, the traveler may be gone from sight, but not from our imagining. It continues onward, and we follow in thought, in quiet reflection, in the soft rhythm of breath. As the seasons shifted on Earth and the months slipped quietly by, the story of 3I Atlas continued to soften into something almost mythic. Not a tale of shock, nor a puzzle demanding urgent resolution, but a gentle reminder that the universe sometimes reveals itself in whispers. Though the traveler was now far beyond the reach of any telescope, its influence remained vivid in the minds of those who had watched it. It was strange in a beautiful way how an object so distant, so silent, so faint, could leave behind a presence more lasting than brighter, louder, cosmic events. But perhaps that is how many meaningful things arrive quietly, without insisting on attention, leaving space for us to lean in, to observe, to feel. Take a slow breath and let that quiet arrival settle gently within you. In the months after its disappearance, astronomers began gathering to share their reflections, not merely their data. These were not formal conferences or urgent meetings, but small late evening conversations that felt almost like storytelling circles. Scientists sat together in warm rooms with soft lights and steaming cups of tea, and they spoke not as researchers but as people who had glimpsed something calming. Some described how the object's smooth halo had made them think differently about motion in the universe. Others spoke about its unusual colors near the sun tones, so soft and unexpected that they felt more like brushstrokes than physics. A few mentioned how the traveler's serenity had changed the way they looked at scientific work itself, reminding them that patience and gentleness are also forms of discovery. One scientist said, "It moved like it already understood the universe better than we do." Another added softly, "It taught me to pay attention to quiet things." Imagine now those quiet things, the softest stars, the faintest glows, the gentle rhythms beneath all motion. Let your breath mirror those rhythms. Slow, easy, steady. As discussions deepened, Some astronomers revisited the subtle anomalies with new, gentler eyes. They no longer treated them as puzzles to break open, but as traces of a long life lived in places beyond our knowing. They spoke about the faint blue shimmer, once baffling, now almost poetic. Perhaps it came from grains shaped under a hotter sun, or from metals cooled slowly under interstellar starlight. Whatever its cause, the glow felt like a signature of the object's distant origins, a quiet fingerprint left on light itself. They spoke about the traveler's reluctance to form a tail, how it moved through warmth without shedding its edges, as though it had grown accustomed to change, as though heat and cold were simply familiar phases of existence. They spoke about the smoothness of its path, how it glided through the solar plane with calm precision, like a leaf following the gentle middle of a river's flow. And they spoke about its persistence, how it remained whole and composed even after passing close to our Sunday. None of these behaviors were dramatic, yet each carried a quiet beauty that lingered long after the object was gone. Take another deep breath. Feel it fill you gently, and let it fall, like fading starlight. In time, these reflections began to influence how astronomers approached other faint interstellar signals. They listened more carefully. They watched more patiently. They allowed data to unfold slowly without rushing to pin meaning down. Some described this as a softening in the scientific community, a shift from urgency to attentiveness. Not everything needed to be explained in the moment. Some things simply needed to be witnessed. This gentle shift carried into classrooms as well. Students learning about astronomy were often shown the images of 3i Atlas, not as examples of extreme science, but as examples of quiet science. Science that observes without judgment. Science that listens. Teachers told the story like an old, soothing fable. Once a traveler came from the space between stars. It glowed softly. It moved calmly. It left without disturbance. And in doing so, it reminded us that the universe has quiet lessons too. The students listened, and many felt something settle inside them. A sense of belonging to a cosmos that wasn't only loud and violent, but also peaceful and slow. Imagine yourself in that classroom, hearing that soft fable feeling, the calm that moves gently behind every word. As the traveler slipped farther from the reach of our instruments, a new kind of quiet unfolded. A quiet, not of distance, but of reflection. 3i Atlas had become something more than an interstellar visitor. It had become a gentle mirror, reflecting our curiosity, our patience, and our desire to understand the softest corners of the universe. Even though the object was now beyond direct detection, astronomers still gathered around their screens, reviewing old images again and again. Some pictured it drifting through regions where stars are sparse, where starlight is thin, where silence is older than memory. Others imagined it sailing one day past another star, its faint glow catching the curiosity of another civilization, another distant observer who might wonder about the quiet places it had been. The thought was comforting that somewhere, someday, another pair of eyes might look upon this traveler and feel the same quiet awe. The conversation slowly shifted from what was it to what did it teach us. Scientists, with decades of experience, found themselves reflecting on the subtle behaviors of the traveler, how it refused to shed violent jets near the sun, how its halo remained smooth, how its glow pulsed gently, instead of flaring, how it glided without chaos or complaint. Perhaps calm is the natural state of things when time stretches into millions of years, when motion is measured in gentle arcs, when silence becomes a familiar companion. Perhaps 3i Atlas was simply showing us what the universe looks like when nothing is rushing, and in that possibility, many found peace. Meanwhile, researchers continued projecting the traveler's future path, a long arc that would lead it into the unlit stretch beyond the heliosphere. Their solar wind becomes faint as breath, and the boundaries of our sun's influence blur into the greater ocean of the galaxy. They imagined 3I Atlas passing through that boundary, a tiny ancient ember moving into an even deeper night. As the memory of 3I Atlas continued to drift softly through the scientific world, its journey began to feel less like a past event and more like a quiet presence woven into the background of cosmic thought. Though the traveler had long since slipped beyond every instrument, it remained vivid in the quiet reflections of those who had followed it, from its first gentle glow to its final vanishing into the dark. In the months that followed, researchers often found themselves pausing at unexpected moments in hallways, in late-night laboratories, in the still air of observatories just before dawn, thinking about the traveler's serene passage. It was as though 3I Atlas had become a symbol of the gentle, unhurried side of the universe. And in a strange, beautiful way, that symbol shaped thoughts more powerfully than noise or spectacle ever could. Take a long, slow breath, and let the silence behind that breath settle around you like a soft, familiar blanket. Many scientists began returning to their old logs, rereading the careful notes they had taken while the traveler was still visible. They found themselves moving more slowly through the data, no longer searching for breakthroughs but for the feelings that had accompanied their discoveries. One noted how the halo around the object had remained strangely smooth, even near the heat of the Sunday. Another described the quiet blue tones the object emitted, as if releasing centuries of stored starlight with patient calm. A third wrote about the faint, steady acceleration, a gentle push, so subtle it felt more like a sigh than a force. Each detail now appeared not as an unsolved puzzle, but as a soft poem, lines written in the language of material light and time. Some researchers called it the most meditative object we've ever observed, not because it was simple, but because it moved in ways that encouraged stillness. And you may feel that stillness now growing slowly inside you like a small, warm light. As the traveler drifted farther and farther into the deep galactic dark, the community of astronomers began exploring a new idea, that perhaps objects like 3I Atlas carry stories not through loud displays of energy, but through the gentle consistencies of their behavior. It is believed that the shape of an object, the way it holds light, the softness of its motion, can speak of the environment where it was born, a quiet fingerprint of a distant world. If that is true, then 3I Atlas carried the signature of a place where time moved slowly, where heat came in rare waves, where materials formed in patient layers, and where stars may have cast softer light than the sun we know. The thought brought comfort that somewhere in the galaxy there exist worlds shaped not by violence but by gentleness. Take another slow breath, and imagine such a world of muted light, soft winds, and quiet cosmic moments. As the idea deepened, astronomers began connecting these reflections to larger patterns in the galaxy. They spoke about how interstellar objects are not merely wanderers but messengers from environments far beyond our imagination. Some may come from places full of extreme heat and pressure. Others might drift from frozen regions where sunlight never reaches. Some may pass through ancient clouds of dust and emerge smoother, colder, calmer. And some, like 3I Atlas, may carry within their surface the softness of a star system that has long since faded into memory. This perspective changed how researchers saw the universe. No longer did they view interstellar objects as strange outsiders. They became threads in a shared cosmic tapestry, each one carrying quiet hints about places too far away to ever visit. It was a gentle shift, but an important one. Take another breath and let that shared awe travel through you, connecting you gently to every world that has ever looked upward. As the visitor moved farther into the dark, one final reflection began to emerge among the scientists who had followed it. Perhaps the calmness we saw in it exists everywhere in the universe, waiting only for us to slow down enough to notice. Perhaps calm is not rare. Scientists projected that it would pass into the interstellar medium where atoms drift more sparsely, where darkness feels deeper, where the emptiness carries a strange ancient peace. Some imagined it drifting past frozen fragments older than Earth itself. Others pictured it crossing invisible trails of dust, left behind by stars that died long before humanity existed. And in the center of this calm new perspective was the quiet traveler who had passed so briefly through our sun's light, leaving behind not answers, but a soft echo of wonder. Take a slow breath and imagine that echo moving through you now. In observatories, late-night conversations continued to circle back to the traveler, not because there was new data there wasn't, but because people had found comfort in its presence. Take another breath and let that shared, timeless connection settle warmly into your thoughts. Back on Earth, scientists began sharing the story of the traveler, not just in technical journals, but in talks in classrooms, in quiet interviews. People who had never before cared about astronomy found themselves drawn to the tale, drawn to the idea of a calming visitor passing briefly through our sun's light. And some, like 3I Atlas, may carry within their surface the softness of a star system that has long since faded into memory. This perspective changed how researchers saw the universe. No longer did they view interstellar objects as strange outsiders. They became threads in a shared cosmic tapestry, each one carrying quiet hints about places too far away to ever visit. It was a gentle shift, but an important one. Scientists published fewer frantic papers and wrote more reflective ones. Young researchers asked softer questions. Veterans of the field found themselves appreciating uncertainties as part of the beauty, not the frustration of studying the cosmos. And through it all, 3I Atlas remained unseen, but present a tiny ember moving through the dark with the patience of ages. Its memory, like its glow, lingered gently, and as we continue this journey together, we move with that memory softened, slowed, carried by the calmness the traveler left behind. As the memory of 3I Atlas continued drifting through the scientific world, something delicate and unexpected began to unfold. A collective shift, not in knowledge, but in the way people felt about the universe. It wasn't the kind of shift that announces itself, not a breakthrough, not a discovery, not a headline. Children listened wide-eyed as educators described a traveler from another star, and adults, pressed by the pace of everyday life, felt a rare moment of pause when hearing about something that had moved so slowly, so gently. The story became a reminder that the universe is vast enough to hold quietness, and in that quietness, beauty grows. As months drifted into years, the traveler's legacy continued subtly shaping the culture of astronomical research. It was quieter, like the way dawn softens the edges of a landscape long before the sun appears. Astronomers, students, teachers, and quiet observers who simply loved the night sky found themselves thinking differently about space, not as a place of constant explosions or violent forces, but as a vast realm where gentleness has time to grow. They spoke of how unusual it was for an interstellar object to behave with such serenity. They remembered the soft glow it carried, the gentle acceleration it showed, the smoothness of its halo, and the strange, calming way it reflected sunlight. One researcher described it as the most peaceful object I've ever studied. Another said, "It made me feel like the universe is older than worry." These quiet reflections spread farther than scientific circles. Writers began, including the traveler, in essays about the beauty of the natural world. Artists painted its smooth, pale glow, drifting through the dark. Musicians composed ethereal pieces inspired by its slow passage. Even those who didn't know the science felt a strange softness in the story of a visitor from another star moving so gently through our sky. It is believed that stories like this help people feel less alone beneath the vastness of space. And you might feel that connection now, the comfort of belonging to a universe so old, so calm at its edges, that it can hold travelers like 3i Atlas for ages, without hurry. As the traveler continued outward beyond every trace of sunlight, beyond every instrument's reach, scientists began imagining what conditions it now experienced. They pictured darkness so deep that light becomes a memory. They pictured dust drifting softly like cosmic winter snow. They pictured the faint pull of distant stars tugging gently, shaping the traveler's path in curves so slow no eye could ever see them. In this far region, a place beyond even the most distant spacecraft 3i Atlas would glide for centuries in silence older than Earth itself. Some scientists described this space as the true night of the solar system. Others called it the ocean between worlds. Take another breath, in and out, and imagine drifting through that ocean, weightless, calm, unhurried. As years passed, researchers finished writing their final papers about the traveler. But even these papers carried a softness not usually found in scientific writing. They described the object with phrases like remarkable calm, quiet endurance, and subtle elegance. It was unusual, but not surprising. The traveler had changed the tone of its observers subtly, quietly, the same way the moon changes the tone of a night sky, without ever saying a word. Students who read these papers often paused at those gentle phrases, drawn not only to the science but to the feeling behind it. One student wrote in a journal, "It comforted me to know something can travel so far and remain so whole." Another wrote, "It made me breathe slower." These reflections, quiet as they were, became part of the traveler's legacy. In lecture halls around the world, professors began ending their lessons on interstellar objects with a slide of 3i Atlas, a small soft sphere of light captured by a distant probe near Mars. They would say, "This visitor reminds us that not everything we discover has to be loud." And in that moment, the room would fall still, as though everyone there could feel the calmness drifting through them. Take a slow breath and let that stillness settle over you now. Scientists also continued to speculate, softly, gently, about the traveler's origin. Some imagined it forming near a massive star, where heat forged strong layers that cooled over centuries into a smooth, resilient surface. Others envisioned a quiet planetary system, where dust gathered slowly into ancient fragments, older than the sun by millions of years. Still others pictured it drifting through dark molecular clouds where starlight barely reaches, and where tiny grains of matter fuse into new shapes under almost imperceptible forces. These musings were not attempts to solve a mystery, but expressions of wonder, gentle threads woven into a larger narrative about the origins of things that travel alone. Because for every visitor we see, there are countless others moving silently between stars, carrying stories that only their surfaces remember. And perhaps in their own quiet way they remember us too, not as observers but as another star they passed, another small warmth on their endless journey. Take another breath and let that idea drift gently through your thoughts. As scientists imagined the future of 3i Atlas, they realized something comforting. It would continue onward for tens of millions of years. Long after cities fade, long after mountains shift, long after continents change shape, the traveler will still drift through the galaxy's soft currents. It will pass near other suns. It will warm, cool, and warm again. It will collect dust from ancient stars and then shed it quietly in regions where gravity thins. It will never hurry. It will simply continue, as it always has. And in that endless continuation, there is something deeply soothing, because its journey reminds us that the universe holds time differently than we do. It also holds peace differently. And as the story of 3i Atlas nears its final chapters, that peace becomes the heart of its legacy. A legacy made not of explosions, but of quiet movement across unimaginable distances. A legacy of calm, a legacy of patience, a legacy of the softest kind of beauty. As we arrive at the final chapter of this gentle journey, the memory of 3I Atlas feels less like a scientific case study and more like a soft constellation of thoughts glowing quietly in the background of our imagination. Its passage through our solar system may have been brief, but the calmness it carried, the patience it embodied, will linger far longer than its faint light ever did. In these closing reflections, astronomers, dreamers, and everyday observers all found themselves contemplating the same idea, that perhaps this traveler did not come to teach us about data or physics, but about quietness. The quietness of motion without resistance, the quietness of change without chaos, the quietness of drifting through a universe that is far older, far gentler than we often allow ourselves to imagine. Take a soft breath, slow, easy, and let that quietness expand inside you like dusk, spreading across a peaceful sky. As scientists revisited their very last observations, they felt something tender settle in their thoughts. The final image, the last point of light before the object vanished, held no dramatic flair. It was simple, a tiny pixel suspended on the edge of darkness. Yet that simplicity was what made it beautiful. It reminded them that significance does not require brightness. History is not only written by explosions or roaring phenomena. Sometimes it is carried softly by things that move without hurry, without noise, without needing to be more than they already are. 3I Atlas was one of those things, and you might feel its simplicity now, quietly anchoring your thoughts, steady and soft. In the deepest regions beyond the sun's reach, where only thin wisps of solar wind drift, the traveler continued forward, like a calm ember, sliding across the dark surface of time, no longer warmed by starlight, no longer visible to any eye. It entered a realm where silence stretches infinitely, and where ages pass like gentle breaths. Scientists imagined this stage of its journey with a kind of reverence. They pictured the object drifting past dust grains older than the Earth past comets, that had never seen sunlight past fragments of forgotten worlds, born and destroyed, long before our own history began. In that endless dark 3I Atlas became simply what it had always been, a traveler, shaped by patience, guided by quiet forces, carried across the galaxy by the soft pull of time. Take another slow breath and imagine yourself drifting with it, light as starlight, calm as deep water. Some astronomers speculated that the traveler might one day pass near another star. Perhaps distant observers, beings we will never know, might catch its soft glimmer and feel the same wonder we felt. They might study its slow rotation, its steady glow, its gentle interaction with warmth, and wonder where this calm visitor came from. And as they watched it drift away from their star, they might feel the same quiet sadness we felt as it slipped beyond our reach. There is something comforting in imagining this shared experience, that across the galaxy, sentient minds might pause to appreciate the same soft beauty, to wonder about the same ancient traveler, to feel the same breath of awe. It makes the universe feel less lonely, more connected, as though its silence is shared by every world that looks upward. Take a breath, slow and warm, and feel that quiet connection expand inside you. As time moved on and the traveler faded into myth, the story of 3I Atlas began to take on a soothing clarity. People realized that its greatest impact was not scientific, though it expanded our understanding of interstellar matter, but emotional. It reminded us that the cosmos holds not only chaos, but calm, not only fire, but stillness, not only storms, but serenity. The universe is not always in a hurry. Sometimes it breathes slowly. Sometimes it moves like a held note in a forgotten song. Sometimes it lets an object drift through a star system, not to send a message, but simply because drifting is what it has always done. Students learning astronomy for the first time heard the story and felt its softness. Adults overwhelmed by life's speed heard it and felt a moment of quiet. Scientists worn down by endless complexity heard it and felt a renewed sense of wonder. The traveler had left behind a legacy of calm, and now that legacy rests with us. So, as we close this long, soothing journey, allow the image of 3i Atlas, a glowing ember from another star, to drift gently through your mind. Imagine it moving beyond the outermost echoes of sunlight. Imagine it entering the deep ocean of the galaxy. Imagine it gliding through silence so profound that even time feels soft. And imagine that somewhere far in the future, another traveler may pass through our world, just as quietly, just as gently, carrying the same peace. Take your final breath in, slow deep, and let it out, like a long, calm exhale, as our quiet traveler drifts beyond the last threads of sunlight, and this long journey folds gently into silence. I hope you can feel a little of its calm settling around you. Stories like this remind us that the universe is not only vast and ancient, but patient, full of soft movements and quiet wonders that unfold at their own rhythm. And in following 3i Atlas across the sky, we've also taken a small journey inward toward stillness, toward curiosity, toward a gentler way of seeing the night. Thank you for spending this peaceful time with me. If you felt something in this story, a sense of calm, a moment of awe, or even a question that stayed with you, I'd love to hear it. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What part of this journey carried you the furthest? And if you'd like to drift deeper into the quiet beauty of the cosmos with me, I invite you to subscribe to Fall Asleep to Science. Your presence here means more than you know, and every new listener helps keep these soft, star-filled nights alive. When you're ready, feel free to explore the next videos waiting for you at the end of this one. Each one holds another doorway into wonder, another gentle path through the universe, and perhaps another peaceful night of rest. Sleep well, stay curious, and thank you for being here.